Hello, happiness abounder, and welcome back. Kicking off a new theme week with this episode 446, I want to talk about something really practical. And while I'd like to think that all of my episodes are fairly practical, especially in the sense of being happier, this one is very practical, in the sense that I think it's something a lot of us struggle with, something a lot of us know that we'd like to change or that we may think we need to change, and we may not know how. So, what is the topic for this week's theme? It is all about tips to overcome phone addiction. How many of you have spent hours on your phone and didn't really know it until the whole day was gone? Raising my hand over here. Whether it's scrolling through social media, Reddit is kind of in that space, the playing next for YouTube, like the YouTube rabbit hole, whether it's playing games on your phone, scrolling through TikTok videos. Our phones have access to everything, and it is incredibly easy to become addicted to them. And I know that for a lot of my parent listeners out there, I've heard this from many of the people that I mentor, people that reach out, from parent listeners, that you go to bed, finally put the kids away, and then you get on your phone and you're like, I need to go to sleep. And 2 hours later, you're still on your phone. And you're like, yeah, that's an addiction, that's a problem. Or your kids are playing and you're on the phone. And you're like, I really wish I wasn't, but it's really hard to stop. That's a phone addiction. And so I think it's really important for us to outline what we can do to curb this addiction to something that we can't necessarily quit cold turkey. What I mean by that is, yeah, you could go get a not smartphone and just have it for text and phone calls, but I think that most of us also use our smartphones for our business, for ways of communication like FaceTime and stuff like that you can't get on a not smartphone or a regular phone. And so it's like, here's something that's in our lives that we use. It's super convenient. You use it every day. It's connection to the world. But how do you keep that while also keeping your time and your presence and your focus, instead of leaning on that to buffer your emotions and leaning on the phone to feel connected to the outside world when you're feeling disconnected inside? So how do we go from using it as a tool to using it as just a tool, instead of using it as a tool plus being addicted to it? That's what I want to talk about this week. And today, I want to talk about what you can actually do on your phone to help curb a little bit of that addiction. So first things first, on every phone, I apologize, I'm not super familiar with Android phones, but with iPhones, and I'm sure this is on every phone, you can actually change your color schemes to black and white. And on the iPhone, I have mine set up so if I do a triple click on my button, it will bring up what they call guided access, which are the disability settings. And one of those I can change. There's a child protection lock, there's guided access, and I can change, which the child protection is funny because I don't need that, I don't have kids, but I can change my screen as simple as 3 clicks to black and white. So it's really simple and easy to set up. And the second I change it to black and white, well, after I put my phone down and it's black and white, if I have that instinct, that reaction, that's the addiction of, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed right now, I'm going to look at my phone for a second. I look at it and it's black and white, and it's a reminder of, oh, I didn't want to be on my phone right now, I need to focus on the task at hand. The other benefit of this is that our phones, the colors are set up to engage us. So red notification icons, beautiful apps, and it's like all of these things are going on to stimulate our brains. So if you change it to black and white, when you look at that, you aren't immediately drawn to the app that you go to every single time. You take a second to look at it, and then it's a lot less appealing that way. So that's one way that you can kind of curb that addiction right at the onset of when you're picking up your phone. Change it to black and white. And I know apps like Instagram that are super colorful, TikTok, any of those, Pinterest, any games that you play, all have great colors that sometimes you need if you're going to be on those apps. But if you are finding that Pinterest or Instagram are your major scrolling platforms where you're spending hours at night, changing to black and white makes them a lot less appealing and gives you back your presence of mind to make that decision whether or not you want to be on that app instead of just doing it out of mindless habit and addiction. So that's number one. Number two, there are apps that can track the amount of time you spend on your phone as well as the apps that you spend your time on. Now, what I would do with this is install one of those apps. I like the one called Moment, and you install it and let it go for a week. And then like maybe on a Sunday as you're prepping for the upcoming week, look at it and figure out like, wow, my average time on my phone a day is 7 hours. That's almost a full work day being on my phone. And then you can look at the apps that you've spent that time on. And are they apps that are productive and building, or are they scrolling and emotional buffering and addiction? Then from there, you can actually have your baseline. Because again, you can't know where you need to move forward if you don't know where you're at. So using apps that record the amount of time you spend on your phone are very helpful for determining where you are at and helping you set goals. Because if you try to stop cold turkey, depending on your personality, you may or may not be able to do that. Most people can't. Most of us can't. So what do? You look and go, okay, I have a baseline of 7 hours. Next week I want to cut it down to 6 hours a day. And the app I spend the most time on is Facebook. I'm going to do my best to be mindful and pay attention to Facebook. Also, you can set timers in your phone and go, okay, well, if I want to spend some time, if I want to cut my time down on Facebook, maybe I should set an alarm or a timer on my phone when I start going on Facebook, and when that goes off, I get off. That's one quick and easy way to move forward in that space. Next thing is turn off your notifications. That's pretty simple, but it's surprising how when you turn off your notifications, you're not drawn into those things every 5 minutes. Instead, you are like, oh yeah, I should probably check that and see if I have anything. And you go and you look at your notifications, and then you shut down the app, and you're solid. Instead of getting it every few minutes and thinking that you need to now be engaging, you need to be paying attention to the notifications. So those are 4 very easy, very simple, very effective ways to curb some of that phone addiction. So again, that's changing your settings through the guided access settings to black and white. Using an app like Moment or any other app that I actually think iPhones and Pixels do have like how much time, like a health wellness app on the phone automatically that show you how much time you've been spending on your phone. But set that baseline, discover how much time you're spending on your phone, and if that's something you want to change, and then set goals to change it. In setting goals to change it, give yourself timers and alarms for phone time. And then lastly, turn off your notifications so that you are less inclined to go to that every time you feel uncomfortable. Because that's the crux of all of this. Most of us are addicted to our phones because we need a break from our life and from being present, and we don't want to feel the emotions we're feeling. So we try to buffer through using our phones, our social media, using our phones for watching Netflix or whatever it may be, but we use that to buffer from how we're feeling so we do not have to be in the moment. And that is an addiction, right? If you look at, and this is an extreme, but if you look at drug addiction, what is that? It's an escape from your reality in a form of something else. And that's exactly what phone addiction can turn into. So while addiction is a very, very strong term, it may not be a full-on addiction for you, but if you intuitively feel like you probably are spending a little bit too much time on your phone, I want to encourage you to keep on tuning into this theme week, because I will be going into a lot more detail about overcoming your phone addiction, starting with today on those few simple hacks that you can do on your phone right away. So that said, I hope that this episode helped you. If you have a partner, a friend, a family member, a work coworker that has mentioned to you how they want to spend less time on their phone, be sure to share this episode with them. But that said, have a wonderful day. Check your phone time. And above everything else, remember, you are capable of happiness abound.